I wonder how effective lightning is. Well, that was cool, but I wish that I could do it more and better. Oh, interesting. Ladies, gentlemen, and Hyruleans of all ages, we're all out here just starting off our journey in Tears of the Kingdom, taking it at our own pace. Some people are still just slowly working through the tutorial island and its meaty amount of stuff to do, whereas other people are sort of beelining the story and may have even completed the game already without touching the open world and the side objectives at all. If you're early on in the game though, there are plenty of objectives you can set for yourself to just make the rest of the game just a little bit easier, as well, the combat in Tears of the Kingdom is definitely a step up from Breath of the Wild, and arguably some of the hardest combat in Zelda up to this point as a whole. The world is unforgiving and the enemies are as well, so what are some things that you can grab for yourself early on to help out? Today we'll be going over 10 important items that you can grab pretty early into your gameplay experience that will just make your life much simpler as you proceed. Number 1. Goblin Arm Bones. This may seem a bit simple, and well, that's because it is. At night in the open world on the ground level of the map, as you wander around, you'll find stock goblins spawning near you. These are the skeletal bokoblins. Again, they are unique to nighttime, and if you kill them, they will drop a bit of equipment, a bit of bokoblin materials, but they'll also drop their own arm as an actual weapon. It doesn't have great durability, but it is 20 attack power, which early game is quite strong, and as if that wasn't enough, Tears of the Kingdom introduced a new mechanic in item fusion that lets you fuse items to your arrows, your shield, your weapons, and even each other, giving different and unique effects. Interestingly though, the fusion effect of a bokoblin arm is 20 attack power. So you take a bokoblin arm, fuse it to another bokoblin arm, and you get a weapon called Goblin Arm Bones. 40 attack power, not great durability, but it is super easy to farm multiple of them, and 40 attack power is nuts early on in the game, letting you dish out a lot more damage than you otherwise would at this stage, as again, you can just get these the second that you land on the ground. Number 2. Bomb Flowers. This one is a touch harder to get, but requires no fighting if you do it right. Bomb Flowers are insanely strong utility item in Tears of the Kingdom. You can fuse them with arrows to fire off high explosive shots to deal a ton of damage, and do so in a large area of effect as well. The effect is similar to that of using the various precious gem ores, but those ores sell for a high value, so it's better to keep them for that purpose if you have another option to use for combat. Thus, Bomb Flowers. If you have a steady supply of Bomb Flowers and arrows, no fight is all that threatening, really. As for farming them, the simple answer is just go down to the depths. Drop into any chasm that you find, even the one directly south of Lookout Landing, even right there, and then just look around under the trees, around the rocks. Generally, these Bomb Flowers will just grow in patches of 1 or 2 just around the area, so just do a bit of exploring, walk around, try and avoid the enemies if you aren't ready for combat, and you can just find them all around the place. Be careful of the darkness, you can bring in things like Bright Bloom to actually light things up. Don't stand in the gloom or you'll use your hearts, and you'll find Bomb Flowers just all over the place down here if you actually look. Number 3. Energizing Elixir. This one can be obtained super early, and its use is unquestionable. One of the biggest annoyances in the game, as it was in Breath of the Wild, is the stamina bar. In a world where you can climb anything that you want to, where you can glide from the highest heights down to anywhere that you can see, the only truly limiting factor for traversal is the stamina bar. Thankfully though, cooking exists, and you can create these handy dandy items that restore most of an entire bar of stamina extremely cheaply and easily. So a bit of farming and you'll essentially be able to have infinite stamina if you gather enough of it. How do you make these in Tears of the Kingdom then? Well, the recipe is 3 restless crickets and 1 bokoblin horn. Bokoblin horns are super easy to get, they are common drops from any bokoblin enemy, and those are just everywhere. As for the restless crickets, these are actually super simple as well. Even as early as Lookout Landing, just walk out of the gate to the east and you'll be in a field of grass. Simply start cutting the grass in little patches, and depending on our RNG a little bit, a little critter will appear. Sometimes you'll get a lizard, but more often you'll get the restless cricket, and if you just walk around cutting through the grass, you can get a ton of crickets in no time. Bring your materials back to a cooking pot, throw in 3 crickets and a bokoblin horn, and you'll have yourself an energizing elixir. Repeat as much as you want and fill your bags with all of this bonus stamina. Number 4. Royal Guard Armor and Champion's Leathers. Now that you know how to get energizing elixirs, let's move on to how to use them to get yourself some snazzy gear early on. In Lookout Landing, there is a Skyview Tower, and you can use this to throw yourself up high into the air whenever you want. If you do so and point yourself pretty much directly north, you'll see Hyrule Castle, floating and covered in a creepy gloom effect. Glide the second that you reach the top of the jump from the tower, and head towards it. If you are running on the base stamina bar, you'll need to use an energy elixir here, maybe even 2 depending on your flight path, but essentially your goal is to land right around here, which is here on the map. Once you've landed, just head straight into the chamber in front of you, head up the stairs on either side, and you'll see 2 unlit torches on the edges. Use a fire fruit or any other method of fire creation to light both of these torches, and you will find these stones shifting behind you to open up the statue altar thing that's in front of you. And if you go into it, you'll find a chest containing the champion's leathers, a solid 5 defense chest piece, which is incredible at this stage of the game for us. There's other equipment in the room if you want to have a search too, but the next piece of armor that we're specifically after is back out the way that we entered the chamber. Immediately southwest of this, you'll see a tower, down a tiny drop to that tower, drop into that tower, and then behind the little folding screen in the corner of the room is a chest with the Royal Guard cap. Then ascend back to the top of the tower and start gliding northward. You'll see a path below you, which is what we want to follow, and there will be enemies along here, but you can just sort of sprint past them, which I recommend, as they are sort of nasty if they hit you. As you look ahead, you'll see a door, and a shrine above the door too. You should touch the shrine just to open it as a fast travel point, but then you want to go through the door that was at the bottom anyways. Head down the stairs inside and you'll enter a library, drop down immediately straight forward, turn 180 degrees, and use Ultra Hand to take the false door off of the bookshelf, and inside of here is a chest with the Royal Guard leggings. Number 5, Hylian Shield. Yes, that Hylian Shield, an iconic shield, and again you can get this really quite early in the game. In fact, it is in the same general area as the last entry. Head to the shrine that we just got as a fast travel point, and you'll want to carefully glide downwards. This part is a pretty exact path, so just follow where I go down to this little river entrance to the lower layer of the castle. In front of you here is a dock, and you want to go up the stairs here, but beware when you do so, an enemy will spawn, and it's a bit scary. So when this enemy spawns, immediately jump off of the upper level and climb onto the wall right to the right side, just right near the enemy, and just hug it. The enemy cannot hit you when you're on the wall, but it will try to grab you from above, and for whatever reason, this sort of glitches it out, and it will just die after a bit. A welcome breath of relief, honestly. Head past where the enemy was, then end up some more stairs, get past the gloom by doing some box parkour, then let's light a fire one more time. That brazier in the middle of the room. A chest will rise up from underground once you've lit the fire, containing the Hylian Shield, 90 defense, incredible durability, unbelievably good to have, and again, you can get here super early in the game.
That's unfair.
It's incredibly unfair.
Number 6, Magic Staff. And here comes a really fun one. Due to the concept of weapon fusion in Tears of the Kingdom, there are some really silly things that you can actually do, but one of the more interesting ones, at least in my opinion, is that you can fuse gems to any weapon to make them have elemental properties and fire projectiles or even explosions in the case of arrows. That said, there are a select few weapons that actually interact with these gems in special ways, one of the coolest in my opinion being the Magic Staff. On its own, it's just a meager thrusting weapon with 4 attack power, but fuse an elemental gem onto it and you've got essentially a cannon. Once fused, if you attack with this, it thrusts out a volley of 3 projectiles per attack that will even curve if they hit walls and then keep moving. Because the Magic Staff is based on a spear, you can spam these attacks out incredibly quickly. Anything with any sort of elemental weakness will melt to this, and it just looks incredibly cool to be using this as well. As for how to get one, it's actually really simple. All you have to do is head to the Susub Shrine. This shrine is in Dale Lake, and you can get there by traveling from the Bottomless Pond, which you can see on your map from the initial Skyview Tower. Heading directly south from there, you will cross a couple of rivers, but when you see Dale Lake pop up on your screen, you'll know you're there. In the southwest corner of this lake, you'll see a well right here. There's some rocks within the well that you have to break with a blunt weapon, and once you drop into it, you'll be in a cave. Follow through the cave, being careful of enemies, and you'll see the shrine waiting for you here. This shrine doesn't have a puzzle of any kind within it. It is literally just a chest with the Magic Staff in it, and then it's completed. Well done. Number 7, Phantom Legs. This is a bit further out of the way, specifically in the Garudo Desert. As Tears of the Kingdom is a true open world, sandboxy type of game, there is nothing stopping you from just running here right at the start of the game if you want to, but I would recommend doing it with some cold resistance food and doing it at night specifically so the desert is cold. It's just a touch simpler this way than doing it in the massive heat during the day. If you get yourself the Skyview Tower for the area, you can simply jump from here down to the Siwakama Shrine, which is right over here. Then on the map, you'll see some circles just south of you. Head to this specific one with the marker on it that I've got, not a different one, this exact one, and if you drop into the hole in that circle, when you get there, you'll land immediately beside a chest, which contains the Phantom Legs. These legs have a ridiculous 8 defense and also come with attack up as a skill. They are incredibly strong, and it's hard not to recommend using them once you can get them. One more thing to be aware of though, there is a boss roaming the desert on the way to the circle. Just do your best to avoid it. That's the only real advice I've got for that. Number 8, Gibdo Bones. Now that you are in Garudo Desert, just head sort of northwestern section of the area, and as you wander around it, you'll see Gibdo enemies just spawning everywhere. They spawn spawn like crazy in this area as long as you have not yet defeated the region's temple, so this is definitely an earlier game farming maneuver. Gibdo are super weak to elemental attacks of any kind, and when you kill them they drop Gibdo bones. Gibdo bones are a material, but they have a whopping 40 fuse attack power with extremely low durability. That means they aren't great for proper weapon fusions, as they just won't last long at all, but these are incredible for shooting with arrows. Adding 40 attack power to every single arrow is obviously amazing. The enemies are super easy to farm too, they spawn relatively clustered, and as long as you have the resistance required to exist in the desert in the first place, it's just a simple process. Number 9. Cold and heat resistant armor. Speaking of resistances, this is how you get them. For heat resistance, you want to head to this village along the path of Garudo Desert. It's just a small bazaar, but in here you'll find a merchant selling the Desert Vo headband for 450 rupees. It comes with heat resistance, which is obviously quite good, especially in the desert. The rest of the heat resistance set requires you to complete the Temple of the Area, so I wouldn't consider it early game, won't be covering it here, but you can find it in Garudo town itself if you're interested. As for cold resistance, this armor set is all found together at one merchant, and you can purchase it as soon as you find it, but it is a bit pricey. But hey, if you need rupees, we'll actually have a guide for farming them efficiently up later today on the channel. To get this set then, simply head to the Rito village located above Lake Totori and find the armor vendor that's located here, who sells these items to you without question for a total of 3 cold resistance, helping you survive even the harshest of climates just for the price of a fair bit of rupees. Number 10. Glider set. This one will require a bit more running around, but it's definitely worth it long term for the amount of extra travel speed that you'll gain. The process involves using 3 Skyview towers to reach specific sky islands which have a challenge on them for you to fall through some green rings. The challenges aren't too hard once you know where they are, so we'll just go over the locations here, but if you want a full guide on the process, we have a video for it up on the channel for you to follow. The first Skyview tower is Lindor's Brow, over here northwest of the starting area. Fly up to the tower, follow this path to reach the sky island right nearby, interact with the green splotch in front of you, and then jump through the green rings. This is essentially the tutorial for the challenge, so talk to the robot nearby at the bottom and he'll get you to do it for real with a timer. Once you've done that, you'll get the glide shirt with skydive mobility up as a skill. Next up, you'll want to head to the Typhlo Ruins Skyview Tower north of the Great Hyrule Forest area. From here, once again, just head up to the tower, follow the path here. It's a bit of a longer one, so we'll let it play out, but essentially you're just heading directly to the robot rather than starting at the challenge platform. Talk to the robot there and he'll get you to do the practice run, give him a Zonai charge afterwards, and you'll get to do the real run, which rewards you with the glide leggings if successful. Then finally you want to head to Mount Lanairu Skyview Tower, which is all the way out in the east. This is a hell of a journey. Once there, again, just go up to the Skyview Tower and follow the path on screen. You'll find a pre-built hovercraft, which is actually incredibly useful, and you can use this to fly the majority of the way for our journey. Talk to the construct that is located over here at the end of it, do the practice run, give the construct a Zonai charge to do the challenge run, and upon completion he'll give you the glide mask to complete the set. What the set does then, when it is fully equipped, is simply massively improve the distance that you can cover when diving, essentially making the dive portion of a fall a partial glider. The glider will always get you the most distance, obviously, but that requires stamina, whereas now even when you are out of stamina, you can get massive distance too, which adds up to make traversal just way easier in the future. And just for the sake of mentioning it, you can also get the Master Sword relatively early in the game with minimal issues. The only necessary requirement is to have completed 20 shrines, but the process is a bit in depth, so if you are interested in that, just check out our Master Sword video already on the channel. With that is everything then. 10 items that are super important to collect earlier in your journey than later. Some will give you a strong power boost for the early game, some will just save you time and effort later on. All of them are incredibly useful. I hope you've enjoyed this collection of items, and of course let us know down in the comments what other Zelda videos you want to see from us, as we'll be doing lots of things related to the game in the coming days and weeks. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.